2025 was a year where cinematographers created unforgettable images by looking both forward and backward. Some of the year's best-looking movies utilized new techniques and equipment, while others leaned into the aesthetics of old-school film.
Jesus Christ!
Regardless of approach, 2025 saw innovation and creativity in cinematography. And here are our top picks, in no particular order, of some of the best.
Unbelievable.
One of the year's most ambitious films was also one of the most beautiful. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another is the legendary director's biggest movie to date.
I felt like Tony Montana! Yeah!
Big story, big themes, and big image. Anderson and cinematographer Michael Bauman hopped on one of the newest trends in Hollywood, shooting on a format from the 1950s, VistaVision. The massive format allows for gigantic, jaw-dropping visuals worthy of the epic story Anderson wanted to tell. And because VistaVision is so old, it required experimentation and a bit of a leap of faith. Michael Bauman explains.
You know, every time you see VistaVision, it's always like, it's set up beautifully on a set of sticks. And so to use this format and the camera systems would use them in a very like, okay, let's go. We're gonna strap this to cars and move it around and put it on a steady cam and have a lot of it was really a tremendous, like, that's a big ask for the technology.
But as rare as VistaVision has been the past 50 years, One Battle wasn't the only film to use it in 2025.
Declare war.
In Begonia, Yorgos Lanthimos and cinematographer Robbie Ryan used the format in a radically different context, trading wide-open Western landscapes for claustrophobic close-ups in a bizarre thriller. Here, VistaVision is used to create landscapes out of faces. This is a story where the audience is asked to discern what is truth and what is fiction. And so seeing the smallest performance choices is paramount.
You were right all along. I am an alien.
And as is always true on a Lanthimos project, the camera isn't the only place where he wanted to push the boundaries. He likes to push lenses to their maximum capabilities.
He really likes to have a lens able to deal with open aperture, where it's got a resolution and a sharpness at an open aperture, which when you do that with older lenses, it gets a little bit softer. So I kind of always was going through trauma of like, is this lens going to be okay? You know, it's a larger format, so you would hope it to be a sharper thing, but because the lenses are a bit older, you know, sharpness isn't necessarily there at a wide open aperture, you know?
The solution? Borrow lenses made for One Battle After Another.
You been drinking today?
I've had a few.
A few what?
Few small beers.
Speaking of close-ups, no one does them quite like a Safdie brother, especially when he's working with celebrated DP Darius Khondji. Marty Supreme is in many ways a classic Safdie picture. Breakneck tempo and heart-pounding stress, all captured with a filmic 1970s look. But Josh Safdie's debut solo outing is much larger in scope, and the cinematography, with its moody lighting and dynamic zooms, matches the heightened ambitions of the sports drama.
The realness of the film, what the reality of it is really the characters, is really the faces, is really the different people. That was the goal for me. I knew from the beginning we were going to be filming really close to them, almost like if we're using a magnifier and looking at the actors. I knew from the beginning that we were going to obsessively being very tight on them. I knew that the obsessiveness, the search of the faces through the eyes and through the character was going to be like really close all the time. So we picked up lenses in this direction. We picked up old glass, but we picked up very long lenses.
VistaVision wasn't the only large format on display this year. With Sinners, Ryan Coogler and cinematographer Autumn Gerald showed off the capabilities of IMAX 65mm and Ultra Panavision 70. These stunning images showed audiences a Southern Gothic like they'd never seen it before. creating David Lean-esque visuals for the Mississippi Delta. Ryan Coogler explains why he insisted on shooting on the format.
In today's age, I think shooting something on film is more impactful now than it ever was. There's such a proliferation of digital photography. The average person in a day is gonna interact with like hundreds, if not thousands of digital images. So we so used to the digital image that when you see something that was captured with celluloid, it feels different.
Director Lav Diaz, meanwhile, used digital cameras to thrust an audience into the past. For his historical epic Magellan, Diaz and his collaborator Artur Tort used prosumer cameras such as the Panasonic Lumix GH7 and Blackmagic's to create gorgeous deep-focus wide shots reminiscent of Orson Welles. For anyone doubting the capabilities of these cheaper cameras, they need only see Magellan's ocean landscapes to be convinced otherwise. Diaz's approach enabled them to move light and fast and keep the budget down for what would otherwise be a very expensive project. He explains, "We have the same process. Artur works with one guy and I work with one guy. It's easy for us, and I was so connected with this small camera. Albert Serra and Artur were using their Blackmagics, the small ones. Cinema can look big even with a small camera. It's how you do it, how you use it, how you articulate things in a way." Where there is experimentation with medium, there is Danny Boyle, who also did his part to push digital photography forward with 28 years later. Few films in 2025 had the raw kineticism of Boyle's return to his beloved zombie classic. With DP Anthony Dodd Mantle, Boyle used an assortment of digital cameras, including iPhones, to allow for mind-boggling camera movement and trickery. Boyle argues, "It's just embracing new technology. Film is beautiful, but it's an incredibly wasteful, poisonous process by which it's chemically made and developed. But the principal reason was to have lightweight cameras that allowed us to move into areas of natural beauty, disturbing them as little as possible, so that it looked like virgin land because of the 28 years that have passed." Of course, equipment is only one element of cinematography. In Wake Up Dead Man, we saw Rian Johnson and DP Steve Yedlin pull off seemingly impossible lighting setups. As is customary with Johnson's Knives Out series, the ground is always shifting beneath the audience's feet, and nothing is ever quite what it seems. Johnson and Yedlin visualized this in Wake Up Dead Man, creating stunning lighting shifts in single shots to underscore the changing nature of a scene. Johnson explains, "I grew up as a kid in Colorado, where the clouds move very fast. You'll be in a room, it'll be bright and warm and sunlit, and then the sun will go behind a cloud, and like that, it'll suddenly be dark. You can barely see each other, and it's dim and cool. The emotional language of the room changes. It's something that happens a lot in real life, and you don't see it in movies very often. I wanted to get very theatrical with those light changes, particularly in the church." Lighting is used very differently, though to no lesser effect, in Clint Bentley's Train Dreams. The understated film is gorgeously captured by cinematographer Alfonso Veloso, who leans into natural light to create a realism in the imagery and feel of the film. Of course, this requires shooting at very specific times of day, which is always a challenge.
We established a rhythm, which is like shooting at a good time of the day when the light's beautiful, having great actors, planning up front and knowing how you're gonna do everything, prepping with them when the light is bad, and then when the light's good, then you can just do it, and you can just be, and you can just get it very quickly.
Hey!
These days, you can't mention natural lighting without mentioning Chloe Zhao, and her film, Hamnet, is one of her best looking yet. Working with cinematographer Lukasz Zal, Zhao wanted to push her typically free-flowing visual language into a new direction for the historical drama.
I'm looking for containment. I'm looking for somebody who is good at containing within a frame. Lukas has that talent. And so I was excited for him to contain my chaos. That combination, chaos and order, that collision is why the universe exists. We kind of look at each other and go like, we are so different.
The cinematography of 2025 is a testament to experimentation, whether it be with camera, lighting, or one's own personal style. At a time when audiences are beginning to tire of more of the same, it's these creatives who give us a reason to keep going to the theaters. We couldn't mention all our favorite visual palettes of the year, so shout out anything we missed in the comments below.
Let me help you.
And prep your own shots with Studio Binder's storyboarding and scheduling softwares. That's all for now. Until next time, savor every frame.